Hello, and welcome to Making Creativity Pay, the podcast where we talk to people in creative industries about how they promote and market their work. I'm Dan Barnett, and in this episode I spoke with comedian Stephen Gordon about his upcoming show, Notes, which will feature a host of top-tier comedians performing things that have been hanging around in their Notes app. We also talk about his other mixed bill show, Comedy Canopy, and what was the inspiration for the shows, and upcoming challenges of promoting them both at the Fringe. I started by asking Stephen to give a brief introduction about himself.
My name is Stephen Gordon. 20 years ago, when I was a student, I became a flyerer for many people. I got really into comedy, but then got signed to a record label and went down a music path. Since then, though, I now live in Edinburgh, and I came up with an idea for a show called Notes, the Comedy B-Sides, which is where comedians will perform all those unhinged ideas they had in their Notes app that never did anything. So for those who don't know, comedians will often have an idea when they're on the toilet, in the shower, in the supermarket. They can't really do anything with it then, so it goes in their Notes app. So we've got loads of amazing people coming, and it's a show that's probably going to be chaotic and very unfinished.
Yeah. With something like that, how hard logistically is that to get? Because it's not you know, just doing 60 minutes. It's a lot of people and a lot of moving parts.
There's a few considerations. So I've had to fill 120 slots over a period of 24 days. My original fear when I came up with the idea for the show in February was that no one would want to do it and it'd be to 3 people. But I've had some of the most famous comedians on the planet message me saying, hey, can I do this show now? And logistically, I'm very comfortable with the logistics because I kind of run a business and I'm great with spreadsheets. What I'm scared about is that I only started stand-up comedy in February. And therefore, being on stage with these people and making mistakes is going to be part of it. So there's a lot that has gone into it. I'm just very lucky that comedians want to do this. And I think because of that, my life has been made easier on the side that I'm comfortable with the logistics. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. And so picking 11:40 at night, that kind of fits in with the vibe, I guess, that it's kind of quite relaxed, hopefully a bit more fluid, I
Yeah,
guess.
absolutely. I see this as the comedian's green room, the place where they're going to go, let off a bit of steam, have a bit of fun and hang out with each other. And I wouldn't be surprised if most of the audience are comedians who want to see the comedians they like and how not only like what are the mad stuff they've thought about, but also how is a joke conceived at the point of conception through to how do they sell it on stage when it's had no craft on it. And then I know that from watching comedy myself, when a comedian tells a joke, I'm not just laughing at it, I'm trying to figure out the structure and all of that. I think that there's going to be a weird audience thing where comedians are like reverse engineering how they would do it and all this meta stuff that's going on there. Oh, I can't wait for it.
Yeah. So you're saying you kind of came up with the idea in February. I mean, was it just like a single spark, or had something been in the back of your mind for a long time? Thought it'd be great to do a show about something.
I think that, so when I was flyering, I was lucky enough to flyer for some well-known comedians when I was about 18, 19. And I was paid £3.50 an hour. And it gave me this massive insight into, like, I just thought comedians were just funny people. And then they went on stage and they just talked. Like, I didn't understand the craft of it. And then I got the assembly and the Pleasance card where you got into shows. And I realized how different every comedian was, and that they all, looking behind the scenes and being in the artist bars, they all had different processes. And they would try jokes on each other. And I was like, why don't we see this?
Yeah.
And then I remember when Set List came about, Paul Provenza's show, when Comedy in the Dark came about, I was like, oh, people really love Jeopardy. And then I was at an open mic night, and somebody said, I've got this thing in my phone. I was looking through my phone, and they did an absolute banger of a joke. It's a good friend of mine called Saoirse O'Hooligan. She is a trans comic in Edinburgh. And it's, do you ever think the beaver from Narnia walked through the wardrobe and just found himself in World War II? And I thought, what a genius premise that isn't ready. It could be an amazing bit, but where does that go and all the possibilities? And I thought that has to be on stage. So I put my money where my mouth is, emailed some venues, and then they came back immediately. And I was like, oh, wow, I'm doing it now.
Something like this, obviously, there's always the financial commitment. of having a venue and everything else like that. I mean, were you relatively comfortable with that? That, you know, you were kind of confident that you could kind of, you know, at least break even?
So, no, not at all. Still not. I kind of, I'll take you through the decision making because the finance thing, I mean, it's a massive consideration for everyone. First thing, I was going to go to the World Cup to follow Scotland. I was born in Scotland. My family is Scottish. I was kidnapped when I was 2 and raised in England among the enemy. And then I've returned there, but no one believes I'm a Scotland fan. And I was thinking, wow, wouldn't it be amazing to go and see them at the World Cup? And then it just felt a bit icky to me. Let's not get into the politics of it, but I made a decision not to go. But I had this money saved up, and I always wanted to do my own Fringe comedy show, but I wasn't ready for an hour. And I thought, you know what? Let's see what happens. And I have a cheat code. There is a cheat code to Edinburgh with finances that if you just live there all year round and you survive the bleak winter, you save around 5 grand. So I was lucky enough to get a venue with just the tonic. I was lucky enough to get the 2340 slot. And I have a business. And the way I looked at this from the financial point of view was, if I lose all my money, that is fine because I've ticked something big off my bucket list. But if I was going to sell it out, how would I do it? And then I reverse engineered how I would do it. And some of the considerations I made is I was offered a 120-seater venue at 11 a.m. in the morning.
Right.
Never going to happen for a show like no. So I took a 50-seater venue at 11:40 p.m. and I resigned myself to the idea that no one could be there and it could just be me on stage with some of my comedian friends having a bit of fun. But I also back myself with some flyers in my hands to fill it. And I think that you have to take into account the downside case. Are you comfortable with that? And what do you need to do to be able to do the upside case? And I am more than willing to spend 12 hours a day flying for this show if I need to. I'm lucky that the names involved are amazing, and that probably is good. But also, I mean, it's a bucket list thing for me. So I will learn. You win or you learn.
But if you wanted to mention kind of some of the people on, because yes, it's an excellent list.
Yeah, absolutely. So a weird thing has happened. So when I first came up with notes, I created an Instagram and then I followed comedians I liked. And 10% of the comedians that I followed DM'd me immediately saying, I want to do this show, which is incredible. So then I DM'd comedians and probably the most famous and my favorite is actually my favorite, Gianmarco Ceresi. He's a New York comic with 1.3 million followers. I love him so much, and I cannot wait to see how he approaches the craft. I have people like Sophie Hagen, the Danish comedian. She has one of my favorite jokes. It's a dog and chocolate joke. Oh, unbelievable. I've got people like Tez Ilias. I've got Katie Boyle, Pernille Harlan. But what I've also tried to do is get Scottish acts on. I'm very, very passionate about the Scottish scene. I think it largely gets ignored in August. And I've put my favourite local Edinburgh acts. I've got very famous Scottish acts like Mark Jennings and Stephen Buchanan and people like that. I'm so proud of everybody who's going to be involved. I can't believe I've got them, if I'm being well honest with you.
Yeah, no, it looks a great list. I mean, with that, is it going to be you buy a ticket for a night and you've no idea who's going to come, or are you tonight is X?
I'll be honest with you, I don't know. I haven't decided yet because I am one of these people who was like, oh, the Fringe was better 20 years ago. I'm a bit of a hipster with the Fringe, and I've made right ticketing wise, it is pay what you want. Yes, you can reserve your seat at the money I've checked out, which is £12.50 on weekdays or £15 for weekends. But pay what you want was so important to me because I think it should be accessible. And when I was getting paid £3.50 an hour for flyering, it was not accessible, so I had to get a job. The second thing about this is, one of the beautiful things at the Fringe is when you walk into a room, you've got no idea who is there, and then you see someone who shifts your paradigm about something. And I don't know whether I will. I think I will put the lineups up in advance, because I think that from a commercial point of view, if you know your favorite comic is going to be on that night, you can still discover 4 or 3 other comics. But I don't know if I'm going to lean into the romance and just fill the 50 seats with you don't know. But I also I have lineups where Jean-Marco Ceresi, I used to be into musical theatre. He's a musical theatre kid. I'm going to try and bully him into singing a musical theatre song with me, and I would like some musical theatre kids who get the references there. So Dan, I don't know. We're just going to see.
Yeah. And I guess how difficult it is as well is that obviously if you say tonight, Gianmarco Ceresi, and for whatever reason he can't do it, then you potentially have a lot of angry people. But if you just say, come along and it'll be four great comics and you'll have a great time, you don't know who you're going to see. It's kind of a bit easier that way.
Yeah, I think that that there's probably a balance to be hit. I think that the Fringe gets you. I think that sort of mid 2 to 3 weeks in, where Fringe flu begins to take hold of people, will be a challenge. I also want to sell tickets and perform to as many people as possible, and I'm in a privileged position where I've got the names. Why wouldn't I use them? So I think that we will just suck it and see, as they say.
And in terms of promoting the show, how important do you think social media will be compared to flyering, for example?
Oh, I don't know. So this is something I think about a lot. So I have a sales agency. That's my business, and I make a living calling people on the phone that have put their hands up and said, "Hey, I'm interested in this." And social media is a very crowded marketplace where everybody is shouting. And for the listeners, I'm in Tenerife at the moment. One of the things that I am not enjoying is restaurant people coming up to me saying, "Hey, eat here."
Yeah.
Or if you're in a shop, they're like, "Buy that." And I don't like that. And that's what I feel like social media is. I see social media as a brochure. So when let's say I approach a person and say, "Hey, I've got this show, it's called Notes." They then check it out on social media to see, is this legit? Is this something I could be into? It reinforces that, yes, this could be quite good. It's a placeholder, and then they come. I promote gigs in Edinburgh, and I've always found that talking to people one-on-one as a human is always the best way. I do believe, though, that if I had a 300 to 1,000 seater venue in Edinburgh, I would leverage socials much more. But with 50 seats and the type of niche audience that I want, I think it's probably better to have in-person conversations backed up by an amplified kind of algorithmic view. But it's 50 seats. It's easy.
Yeah, I think you're going to have more the problem that you're going to be turning people away. I reckon with that kind of lineup and that time, it's perfect for that kind of thing. But obviously, that said, on the downside, but on the opposite side is that with 4,000 shows, the quality of show you're up against as well. There's a market for everyone, but it's a hugely difficult to kind of say, yes, I want to see this show rather than that show. But I think that there's a lot that's different about yours that's going to help, I think.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I think that the great thing about Edinburgh is you get a lot of comedy geeks and people who like to see behind the curtain. And I remember when I was flying for a guy called Howard Reed, who'd been on the Royal Variety. He had a kids show on CBBC, but he was also a working comic that toured. We went into the Assembly artist bar and we sat down. He was like, "I'll buy you a drink." And the Mock the Week cast sat around us. And when you're 18, and that was when Mock the Week is at the highest, and you're sitting next to Shappy Core Sandy and Dora Breen's there, and you see them talking, it's special. And that's what I want to recreate with this show. And I hope that in Edinburgh, there's so many comedy geeks and so many people who, I mean, my PR is being done by Julian Hall. The ex-reviewer for The Independent. I'm reading Stuart Lee's book again, and Julian's mentioned in that. And Julian, I think, has only taken on the show because I'm a very unknown quantity, because he would love to see this show and see how all the jokes are made, and he's a comedy geek. And I'm sure that you are probably a geek at some level between this appeals to you for that reason. So I just wonder if it'll be the same people every night wanting to see how jokes are written.
So you were saying, you've done lots of flyering over a long period of time. If someone, it's their first show and they've never done flyering before. I mean, what would your tips be? Would it be don't do it yourself, get someone who knows what they're doing, or you have to be yourself to sell a show?
That, okay, very much based on the person. Very much based on the person, the show, what time it is and things. I think flyering is a bit like stand-up in that when you first start it, you have a preconceived notion of what it is. And then I think Mike Tyson's got a saying that everybody's got a plan until they get hit in the face.
Yeah.
Very similar. And what you'll find is that the way I do it and the way you do it or the way somebody else will do it will be very, very different. So I was flying for Howard's kids show the first time I did it. That was very different to flying Joe Wilkinson's show on late at night. So I think that number one, define your target audience. I know my target audience is not stag doos who want willy jokes. It's people who enjoy the craft of comedy. Where are they likely hanging out? What are they looking at? Who are they talking to? So for me, I mean, one of the things that I'll be doing is making friends with a lot of venue workers and things so that they can provide word of mouth on my behalf. When handing flyers out, I will be maybe doing this in artist bars or bars where people are waiting. So I don't know where I'm allowed to do it when you're with Just the Tonic, but I'll find them. And then I think it's about it's not just handing a flyer out, it's having a conversation. And hey, do you like comedy? Okay, what kind of comedy do you like? And if they tell me they like I was about to name a comedian. I won't, just in case I have to explain this story. But they like X comedian. Okay, well, we've got this show, XYZ's on this. I think that that's the way I will do it. But again, it's only 50 seats. I think that it's hard. I think that it uses your voice quite a bit. So you have to protect your voice if you're flyering for a long time. A lot of flyers who are at the Fringe maybe don't like art. They just need a job. And I think that the best ones are ones that feel part of something. So for the flyers that I potentially will hire, I'm going to pay them £25 per hour. And I will double that if we sell out that night. That is a higher rate than any of the agencies are paying. Number two, they can help build this show. I have ambitions for this show to tour. I have ambitions for the show to do other fringes. And this is the beginning. And if we can get it really right at the beginning, that would be great. And they can be involved in that journey. Number three, they're going to get to see some amazing comedy and also meet some amazing people and come with me to the artist bars and be introduced to people. And that's how I want to find a flyer who is involved in the mission as a whole. And I think that if you approach this as transactional, as in I pay you, you flyer, you will get transactional. If you approach it as a relationship, then you'll get a relationship. Does that answer the question?
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Because I think it's like you said, some people I've talked to are totally cool with flyering. Others, it's a fate worse than death. It's, and so yes, there's no point killing yourself, stressing yourself about it just to save the cost of the flyer if you're not going to enjoy it, and then you're probably not going to sell many tickets off it anyway.
Yeah, and I think that like there's a balance here, because I think that in these social media days we look at things on extremes. And I think that I have a rule in business, and the rule in business is you do the job so you know what the job is, and therefore you know how much is worth with someone else. And to me, one of the things I hate most in this world is administration. And therefore, I will pay someone a lot of money relative to that job to get that off my plate. I am someone who enjoys flyering, so I'm happy. I mean, I'm happy to pay for flyers because I think that there is a leverage there that it gives you. And the leverage is if I can flyer and somebody else can flyer, we're going to fill it so much quicker. And then I get a bit of relief. If you are our mutual friend, Richard Stott, who hates flyering with a passion, then I think that you get a flyer. But I think that you have to understand what their motives are. They need to understand how they fit into the show, the success of it, and they buy into that relationship as well. But flyering's brutal. It's like cold calling. It's something that only very sick people like to do.
Yeah, absolutely. And so yes, you've got, is it 20 odd shows, 50 seater. So in your calculation, when you're getting flyers printed, do you think, right, I need I'm going to be giving a flyer, 500 flyers a day, let's say. So I need 10,000 flyers. Or do you just kind of say, get as many as you are? Because the additional cost per extra 1,000 of a flyer, you might as well just get more than you need and not try and be too scientific.
Potentially. I think that, so the calculation, so I have actually not done that calculation in my mind. Here is how I have looked at it. Number one, so the costs for this Fringe run will be about £5,000 when we take into account venue, PR, and flyer. Probably a little bit more if we sell out every night. The maximum amount of money I can make is around 20,000 if we sell out every seat at the maximum price. But again, pay what you want. I'm kind of okay if we don't. And therefore, there's a 3x return if I can do that. How much money am I prepared to spend to do that? I would say that I'm actually happy. Breaking even would be incredible if the room's full. So if we get just pay what you want tickets and break even, that's still amazing. With the flyering, I think that I will overbuy flyers because then it's cheaper per unit, but it's the quality of conversation you have with the flyer. And with my show, having those names attached to the flyer, any reviews, that again is work for the flyer to do that I'm going to pay an hourly rate for. So I may go into the festival thinking I need 10,000. Maybe it's less because of the names. But I think that what we do is we just overbuy, and then I can paper a wall with them if I've got them left over in my house.
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, talking to a lot of people who kind of, in this mode at the moment of kind of preparation where all kind of things are possible. I mean, in your head, do you alternate between no one turning up and it all selling out within a couple of days, and and it being a huge success? You've kind of got all those possibilities kind of rattling around your head. Do you kind of bounce between the two extremes?
No is the answer to that question. So, there's a few, because there's different Stevens involved here.
Yeah.
So there's the performer Stephen that is performing to a full house every night, that I am visualizing being at that microphone, introducing Sean Marco Cerezi, and like just that joy and getting, because I'm hosting, like getting people revved up for it and things. And then there is the business side of me that I suppose does imagine 0 people in the room. I think that one of the things that I've learned to do when I've got older, and this is so hard, and I'm 38 now, but I've had a hard paper round. I can only control what I can control. So a lot of what I focus on and have trained myself to do is only focus on the process and not the outcome. And if I was emotionally connected to the idea of I need people in that room all the time, rather than the process that I need to do, then maybe it would be a bit different. I am just happy that this show is happening. Maybe if talk to me during the Fringe, I might actually cry a lot, but who knows?
Yeah. And I mean, on that, kind of one of the questions I'm going to be asking everyone is kind of how often do you check ticket sales? Are you kind of just completely cool with that? Or, do you get a daily update, saying, 7 sold today, 12 sold another day, and all that kind of stuff? Or are you, like you said, concentrate in the process? And it's nice to think I'll be relaxed, what will be. But then there's the other side of you that's thinking, it'd be nice to get it, to at least know that you've got a decent number guaranteed every night before you kind of get to the start of August.
Yeah. I don't check them at all. At this moment, what I am really focusing on, and again, this is the process-based mindset, is what are my lineups? Who have I got? How do they complement the other acts on the lineups? How do I get a Scottish act on? How do I get a non-white act on? How do I get a nice balance between women and men? How do I leverage the social media followings of the people that I've got to sell the show for me? And if worse comes to worse, and on the morning I say to box office, hey, do you know how many people are in? Then I back myself to flyer the hell out of it and fill that room. So I think that I cannot control how many people have bought in the past. I can only do it in the future. And that is a rule that I have that keeps me thinking about how good can I make the show, not, oh no, I've not sold any tickets. I think this would be very different though if I was doing my own hour. I think I would be so much more emotionally invested in it because I haven't got the names then. It's me. But I don't check. But then again, I'm in Tenerife. I'm on holiday. I'm not ruining my holiday.
Yeah. Just to say, yes, you kind of mentioned about kind of taking it beyond the Fringe, doing other things. Do you see that as being stage show, podcast, a bit of everything? I mean, or you kind of wait and see, kind of wait until the end of August before you kind of go too far on that?
Yeah. So beyond the Fringe. So I think that my actions probably speak louder than words at the minute. I haven't after August the 30th, which is the final night of performing, because I've got another show at the Fringe as well that I'm happy to talk about, but no, this is the main one. I have no stand-up or any performances or anything creative booked at all in my calendar for until I die. That's not anything happened yet. And the reason for that is I would like a period of reflection after the festival for maybe 2 to 3 weeks. I might go on holiday or I might just switch my phone off and reflect on it. I view it though, and I've imagined what it could be after the festival. The main need for me is to see Kevin Bridges' notes app, Daniel Kitson's notes app, Stuart Lee's notes app. It's like, how can I get those comedians on while allowing me to facilitate that and maybe grow my skills and be able to see? I mean, I imagine being a Sunday, this is what I think of myself. I'm a Sunday league footballer getting to go on stage, getting to play in the World Cup. That's what it feels like.
Yeah.
Can I do that in America? Can I do that in Australia? Can we do that at other Fringe festivals? Would people be interested? I don't know the answers to these questions until August. My gut says yes. But I haven't booked anything yet. I haven't imagined it. Could it work on TV? I don't know. I wonder if there's going to be some gems that could be zeitgeist changing jokes. I would love that. That's the dream. Could there be some things that come from my show that then somebody uses at an arena later on? That's the dream. I don't know. We're just going to see what happens.
Yeah. Just, to finish, if you just quickly want to talk about the other show and kind of, what it's like having multiple shows at a Fringe and kind of balancing everything.
Yeah. So my other show is called Comedy Canopy. There's a few things I'm passionate about. Number one is I think the barrier to entry at the Fringe Festival is unfair. It's been talked about a lot. That's okay. I won't go over that. But one of the other things is that comics based in Scotland largely get overlooked at the festival. And not only is the kind of financial barrier a thing I think about a lot, but number one is that some people are not ready for 60 minutes at the festival or a full hour show. But there are so many underrated comics that need the reps that the festival gives. So Comedy Canopy, I have got 4 Scottish acts and myself. I've paid for us to do a run on a primetime slot in George Street. I had an application process and essentially we're all doing 10 minutes each to get the reps, get the skills. They're people that I love that I think are under the radar and should not be. And I love it. It feels so very, very stress-free. I think there's some headaches going to be there. Again, it's 60 seats, this one. George Street, 8:45 p.m. At Braw Venues. They are a Scottish venue that's just branching out into comedy. I love that I've been able to do this for people. I don't think that they would have been able to do it elsewhere. And I feel like that's my contribution to making a difference. Producing 2 shows is I find it quite easy. Because once you have sorted the venue, got your Fringe brochure in there, had the flyers designed and printed, then it happens by itself. And we've also got 5 people to flyer that and not just me and a flyer for notes. That's my other show. And I hope that goes well. I hope this creates a platform that those comics wouldn't have had otherwise, because it's important to me that happens.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know if you want to quickly mention who they are and we can kind of tag it in on the socials.
Yeah, absolutely. So Comedy Canopy is myself, probably hosting and doing little bits. We have Craig Alexander. Craig actually created a name for himself in Canada and was at the Just for Laughs festival. He's had videos that have reached hundreds of thousands of people. He's a one-liner comic. I love Craig. We have Matty Ross. He's great. He actually did beat the Frog in Manchester and won it very convincingly on Monday. He runs his own night in Dundee. He gives a lot back to the comedy community, especially in like Dundee and Glasgow. We've got Fudgy McFadden. His real name is Declan, I found out, but everyone knows him as Fudgy. So he's actually the sound engineer at Blackfriars Basement, which is a very famous Scottish comedy venue. Stuart Mitchell has a weekend residency there. And he has helped comedians look good for a long time, but he's been doing comedy himself. And he's an awesome guy, very passionate about the scene. And then we've got Hannah Stakes. Hannah is a bit of an anomaly. She found out she wanted to do comedy when she made the jury and the judge laugh at a high court case in Scotland in which she had been the victim of stalking.
Nice.
Now, she actually changed legislature while basically doing stand-up in court, and then was like, I'm going to try stand-up. She is amazing. She's been picked up by The Stand, who absolutely love her, but she's underrated, and I wanted to get her up there because I think she's so good. So these are people that I've just seen, I love, and I was like, please come and do this. Don't worry about the money. Focus on making your 10 minutes the best it can.
Thanks to Stephen for coming onto the podcast. You can find more details and show notes about where to find Stephen both online and at the Fringe. If you enjoyed this, check out our other episodes of variety comedians, musicians, authors and others in creative industries talking about trying to make creativity pay. Thanks for listening.